Okay, Jason Mumo, Jam on the Fly, and today I want to show you my little EP crab, or actually we're going to call this a brush crab because we make it with a brush body, and I use natural material. Sometimes I use just basically raccoon tail that's tied up into a brush, or EP fiber, SF fiber. It doesn't matter what kind of fiber. You want a little bit of a stiffer fiber for this. Let me zoom in and show you what this thing looks like. Try and do a little bit of adjustment as we go here. There we go. Let me get some light on it. You can see that little crab. Beautiful little deal. I'm going to turn my computer screen on here so I can see what's going on there. It's a nice view of that little crab. And let me show you how we tie that. Basically, it's with a brush. And I'm going to use a Gamakatsu SS15. A little longer shank. Gives us a little bit more of what we were looking for here for the body. In other words, I need to get that body on there, so I want a little bit of a longer shank than the SC15. Oh, got my tools over here. Not quite prepared like I should be, but let's get rolling on this anyway. Gonna take a little bit of marabou. Color here is completely up to you. Whatever, match your crabs that are in your waters. But some of the areas here are going to be what I'm going to cover. Is basically what we're going to do. We're going to do like half the shank. So if you can see what I'm doing there, that's about half of the shank distance. Half the shank distance, marabou. Just tying the tips in, just like that. Working our way back up to the front. So we have about half of the shank length in marabou. Okay, now that one of the very important steps, and of course I have my glue over here. We're going to put a little dot of glue, or a Bondic. We're going to put that right here on the tail end, and I'm going to wrap it around and form a little ball. See what we did there? Got a little ball of Bondic. We're going to cure that. And that's pretty much all there is to that little step. Little ball of Bondic right there on the marabou, right at the bend of the hook. Cure that. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so you can see that. Try and take a little bit of light off of that. Maybe you could see that a little bit better. Okay, so that little ball of Bondic is what's going to form or spread our claws. So I am going to take, dropped a feather, here we go. I'm going to take, in this case I'm going to take an orange and a red, putting the red over top of the orange, like that. I'm going to measure the length of the shank, something like that. Pull them fibers back, we can strip the top and the bottoms, strip that back, and we could lay that in. Okay, let's get that lined up. There we go. And we can lay that in right there on the camera side of the shank. And that goes in like that. You can see we have one set of claws in there. Okay, we're going to do the same thing again. Again, I'm going to put the red inside the orange. And you can use whatever color claws you want. Again, I'm just measuring the shank length, stripping back some fibers. We'll lay them in to my side, and we'll tie those in. And just tying them up against the balls naturally spreads them claws out. So that's all there is to that. We could come in and trim out our extra feathers, get rid of that. Make a few wraps just to get that stuff matted down. Come right into our bend point. Now you have the option here, you could actually take some of this extra marabou, and I like to just kind of pull it together, take a little snip out. And I like this step. I like to do this. I like to add just a little extra marabou up on top over the bead, which actually, because of the bead, will flare straight up. And we'll trim that. Okay, so that now you got a little bit of extra marabou up top there, coming straight up. So when that gets wet, of course, that all mats together. But when you stop the fly in the water, it'll slowly separate because you got a little difference there in between the marabou. Now we go to the brush. I'm going to take a brush. This brush, I have already tied these with regular raccoon tail that I turned into a brush. This happens to be EP fiber. Again, in whatever color you want for your shell back. And you see that wire? I'm tying that in. You can see that wire right there. I'm tying that in the whole length. Just simply pull out some of the fibers and tie that in. That's extremely durable. Redfish could hammer that thing all day long and not tear apart this fly. And that is the trick to this. We're just going to tease back the fibers as we wrap. And we are going to try and keep some pretty tight wraps. I want this a little bit dense. Again, depending on the denseness of your brush, it's going to determine what you put on here. So, if I'm actually making brushes just for this, and I'm going to get my brush here. If I actually make brushes just for this, I will try and make them a little bit more dense or a little bit more concentrated to get a little bit more fiber in every wrap. If you just hit it real quick with the brush, it'll just help you comb that out and get them fibers loose, and that just helps you in the end. So here we are at the end of the shank. We're going to come right over top with a couple wraps. We're going to lift up, reach in, slide down and get that wire and just snip that wire off. Okay, get rid of your brush. You don't need that anymore. Pull that back and come over top behind your little piece of wire that's going to be there. Then you're going to take your pliers and you're going to turn that little piece of wire into the shank, just like that. Okay, so we can see our eye very clean, and we're just going to wrap and turn an eye, put an eye on this. Okay, so you can see that. Looks like we got a little bit of extra fur here. We could get rid of some of that. I'm not really too concerned with that. As long as I could get to the eye, all I really care about. And we're going to just zip this off. We'll finish it. You could, if you want to use some type of a Bondix or whatever you want to do for the end there, you could glue that, head cement, whatever you like to use. Usually I'll just hit that with Bondix at a later point. But now I'm just going to I'm just feathering this out with the brush. Just the EP fiber, just so it's standing kind of straight out, just like that. So if you can see right now, we got a big fluffy fly. Now we're going to do a little bit of trimming. Turn it upside down. We're going to come straight in here, close to the shank, and we're going to clear the underside. Okay? So we clear that underside. I'm going to reach in this way and get them last couple snips. Blow that out. Get rid of all that stuff. And there we have our bottom. So you can see that's a flat bottom. From the flat bottom, I'm going to come in, I'm going to cut basically what I call a crab shape or a crab body shape. So I'm just going to come in and keep it kind of wide and work my way in. Come right into them fibers there. Let's get them babies cut out. So you can see what we cut there. See how we cut that? Going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to do it from the side that I could see. Just like that. So the bottom basically looks like that. The top. I'm going to come in close to the crab body here. I'm just going to snip out all the longer fibers that are against, that would be sticking out this way. And now we're just going to give this thing kind of a haircut right around the top. That kind of matches the silhouette that we have for the whole thing, so that when we comb this back, we end up with a ball, or what was going to end up being the shell. We can trim a little bit more off the top than the sides. Okay, and you can see when it's all said and done, you end up with that crab shape, and you could mess with this all you want as far as cleaning up the little extra hairs and things of that nature. But when you're all said and done, that's your little crab, and that is the JM brush crab. And again, you could use natural material for the shell. You could use whatever. I happen to use some EP fiber that I mixed up. Got a little bit of black in there, got a little bit of rainbow, got a little bit of brown, and I just spun it up in a brush. JM brush crab, and that is a beautiful, beautiful weapon for redfish. JM on the fly, and I'm out of here.